Hello everybody and welcome to the inaugural episode of my Dark Souls Let's Play. If you're not familiar, Dark Souls is an action RPG that came out earlier this year, I'd say 3 or 4 months ago. This is obviously winter 2012, it came out fall 2011, and it's renowned as one of the hardest games this generation, and I actually have wanted to do a Let's Play for about 3 or 4 months because it's also one of my favorite games this generation. Without further ado, let's get started here. Obviously, we're going to go with new game. And as with pretty much any RPG, we're going to start with some character creation right off the get-go. And then we'll get into some story stuff. So there'll be a pretty long cutscene in this episode. Probably won't be a whole lot of gameplay, but there will be a fair amount. I'm looking to make maybe like 20 to 30 minute long episodes for this. So I'm going to name my character Thornforg, kind of in honor of the Dungeons of Dreadmore Let's Play character that I unfortunately cancelled. Plus, it's just a good hard RPG name, like Thornforg. It's a name that could go for like a dwarf, you know, maybe an elf as well, I don't know, like a very masculine elf. Now we have our choice to choose class, and this is something that seems important, in fact is important for a lot of other RPG games, but in Dark Souls it doesn't matter that much. We have heavily armored classes like Warrior and Knight, Wanderer who's a little bit more dexterity based, Thief and Bandit who are obviously more, well actually Bandit is totally different from Thief. Thief is more about dexterity as well and speed, similar to actually the Hunter who's down here. Sorcerer, Pyromancer, Cleric are all magic or sorcery type based. Bandit is just kind of hard hitting. And then finally Deprived is basically just naked dude with a club and a shield, and he's pretty badass, but also a little bit too badass, I think, for me. I am going to play as... A lot of people prefer to play as Pyromancer, because you start at level 1 if you look in the far left there, but I'm going to actually play as a Wanderer who starts at level 3. But really, your starting class doesn't matter. You can make any kind of character from any kind of character. And then gift is actually very important. There's a few things that we can take that will give us basically just a starting item. And the starting item I am going to take is the Master Key. This basically opens almost every lock in the game, which is going to allow me to get a lot of items that otherwise would have required a little bit of scouting. Physique doesn't matter to me, I'm just going to take average. Face, again, doesn't really matter. Why not a Dragon Scholar? I would like that to be my title. That is exactly my hair right there. Color does not matter. And from there on, we should be able to just go to customize for a second. Yeah, let's give us a random face. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then we will back out and hopefully just go to accept here. And then we should have a cutscene, which will explain the starting of the story.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. Lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bullets peeled apart their stone skills. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Alright, so that kind of introduced us a little bit to the background of the story that we're going to be dealing with here, and then there will be another very short cutscene, I believe, when this loading screen finishes, and then we'll be able to get started actually giving some commentary about the game itself.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Alright, so this is us playing the role of Zombie Ezio Auditore. The first thing we're going to do is pick up this dungeon cell key, which will allow us to actually escape. And this is just the tutorial. Essentially, for those of you who might have missed, and honestly the story is a little bit nebulous as well, who might have missed things in that opening cutscene, essentially, we're playing as an undead. That's all you need to know for now, the rest will be explained later. But for those of you who are worried that this is going to be like a very cutscene-heavy game, I assure you that it is not. There are very, very few cutscenes over the course of the entire game. Very quickly, there's these red or orange messages that are scrawled on the ground. Right now, these are from developers who are teaching us basically how to play the game, but later you can actually leave your own messages for other players in the online world that will either help you or actually try to trick you. So the first thing we're going to do is try to break out of this asylum, essentially, and try to realize our destiny as the person who's either going to continue or, you know, perhaps end the Age of Fire, which is the Age of the Gods that we learned about earlier. Now we come across a very important piece of gameplay right here, bonfires. Now bonfires are essential in this game. Resting at them allows you to do many things. In fact, it only allows us to do one thing right now, but later in the game you'll see what it can do. For right now, just know that it replenishes all of our HP and also all of our healing items. So first we are going to progress through this door. If we can push it up, there you go, big boy. Alright. As we get in here, we should be able to go through this door on the left. Watch out for that big dragon. We'll see you later, buddy. One of the things that you probably are noting by now, there's another bonfire. Bonfires are normally not this close together. But because we're still in the tutorial stage, they're being very nice to us. This game's reputation for difficulty is well deserved. One second, I forgot what I was going to say now. Let's equip our shield right away. You can see we also have a weapon, a straight sword hilt, but that's not going to really do a whole lot of damage. We're just going to take down the skeleton here. We're going to do a little bit of combat. And I think we have our weapon here. Good, we have a scimitar. So there we go. That'll work much better than our straight sword hilt. And we should be able to show some combat. And the combat is really what makes Dark Souls shine compared to other action RPGs. This is a game, you know, oftentimes they'll be like, action RPG, that means just mash the right trigger or mash the X button so you can attack as much as possible. This is not a game like that. You really need to use strategy and patience with your combat. So we're going to traverse the white light, which is basically the way the game separates distinct areas here. And then we're going to enter our second phase of the tutorial. What I was going to mention, actually, is that this is not a blind run, or not a blind Let's Play of Dark Souls. And I think that's a very good idea, because otherwise this is going to blossom into like a 200-part, just ridiculous disaster of a Let's Play that will probably never be finished. I have indeed played the game before. Oh, watch out for this trap. I have indeed beaten it before, but there still should be enough surprises and very much so enough deaths to, you know, warrant some hilarity. But also, like, that's just part of the game. Dying, even when you know what you're doing, is part of the game.
You're no hollow.
So we're going to talk to this guy.
Thank goodness.
Just for the record, hollow means you've basically gone undead and lost your humanity. We'll talk about humanity later, which means you've gone
I
crazy.
wish to ask something.
And in fact, he's explaining that right now, so maybe I should shut up and let him talk.
Hear me out, will you?
So we have a choice here. I'm going to be a fairly good guy over the course of this Let's Play. You're not really going to want to kill many NPCs because they can have drastic, far-reaching impacts on the game. And the game has an autosave feature, so you can't just, like, save, kill an NPC and see what happens, and then reload your old save. All your changes that you make to the game world are essentially permanent, so I'm going to hear him out.
But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. And thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
So he's given us an Estus Flask, which is basically our healing item throughout the game. Very essential, probably the most important item in the game.
Now I must bid farewell.
He also gives us a key, which allows us to
I would hate
progress.
harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So we're essentially just going to get the heck... Whoa. Oh, I thought that was a player message. Sadly, they are not. So when we rest at a bonfire, we do replenish our Estus flasks. You'll see that very often over the course of the Let's Play. So there's a few different combat techniques you can use. I'm just going to hold my shield up for a while to demonstrate a few of them. Here's a quick attack. You can see that takes out almost all of his life bar. You can also do a heavy attack, which was actually really poorly executed there because I still took some damage. But obviously heavy attacks do more damage and light attacks do less damage. There's other attacks you can do that you'll see in a second. Now, the bars at the top left, don't worry about that counter for now that reads 00. The red bar is obviously our health, and the green bar is our stamina. So every time we attack or take an attack with our shield, it'll deplete stamina based on, you know, the strength of our attack and the strength of their attack. And also running will deplete your stamina. So you've really got to watch out and make sure your stamina stays as full as it possibly can, because that's what's going to allow you to actually do damage, or avoid taking damage, I should say. You can also see that I'm not... Even when I use my shield, I'm not blocking all of the damage that they dish out. That's because if we look at the shield right here... Oh, I unequipped it by accident. Luckily, my inventory is pretty small right now. Let's go over to our shield here. You can see it only blocks, in the top right there, 85% of physical damage. So that means even when we block an attack with this shield, we still take 15% of what the attack would have done had we not had our shield up. Which might seem like a jip, but it forces you to do you know, more acrobatic things, like dodging in combat. Let's see if I can... There we go, got a little dodging off. Now there's other special attacks you can do. One of the principal ones is a backstab. Hopefully, you saw one earlier, but hopefully I can get one off here as well. I'm going to try to get this guy to attack. There we go. That's a backstab. And the backstab does way more damage than your regular attacks. And is very essential, not just for... player versus enemy, but also player versus player combat, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But for now, we're going to traverse this fog wall, and you'll see what traversing a white light often means in Dark Souls, which is you have a boss battle. And this will also mark the end of the tutorial. The Dark Souls don't play like that. I could quite easily die during this boss fight, and in fact, a lot of people have horror stories of just dying pretty much immediately when starting the game. But this boss, by and large, is actually fairly easy. I haven't even come close to explaining everything that goes on in the combat in this game. For example, you can also two-hand your weapon by pressing the Y button on the Xbox 360 controller. I'm not sure what it is on PS3, but I assume it's the same. Obviously, this is only on Xbox 360 and PS3 for now. Oh, looks like I defeated him fairly easily, actually. That's what you get when it's your third time playing this boss. I promise you, it will not work like that for every single boss. Now, if we run back here, we did pick up a humanity, which I'll talk about when we get to the next area. I guess we will. See, hell, we're only at about 15 minutes. This actually seems like a good spot to end the first inaugural video here. We'll kind of break it up a little bit. But the next episodes will be substantially longer. It's just that this is a short area. So we rested at the bonfire to replenish our Estus flasks, even though we didn't really use any. And then we will just progress over here, and we'll have another short cutscene. This has now encompassed about half of the cutscenes in the entire game. So if you're worried, oh, Northernlion's not going to get a chance to speak because there's going to be 20 cutscenes like every other RPG. No, there are very, very few cutscenes in this game, and most of them are only like a minute and a half long. Actually, less than that. Most of them are only like 30 seconds long. And most of them have no dialogue, so I guess I could just speak over them anyway.
That one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
So we're going to have another brief loading screen here. One of the cool things about the game is that it does not really have that many loading screens. And then after we finish this, we're going to end up in what is essentially the hub world for the rest of the game, or kind of our safe haven for the rest of the game, Firelink Shrine. And we'll meet a couple of NPCs there, and then I'll probably end this video and we can get started on real, like, concrete story stuff and serious combat and Dark Souls dickishness in the next video, because that tutorial is largely pretty easy at this point. So we're here at Firelink Shrine, and of course we're in an area called Lordran, and actually, now we can see some messages from other people. So one thing to mention is that there will be these messages all over the ground. You can see them right here. I can't take this. And if you can put a message down yourself, although I don't have the item to do so yet. And you can also rate messages, and rating messages gives the person who wrote the message a humanity, which is of great importance. Pillage this corpse, we'll pick up another humanity, and then let's go talk to this crestfallen warrior over here.
You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
One thing you'll notice with Dark Souls is that pretty much every NPC you talk to ends every bit of speech that he has, or she has, because there are a few women in the game as well, with a very creepy laugh, and this guy's no exception. But he's also extremely helpful, despite the fact that he's also kind of a little bit of a dick. Essentially, he has told us that we need to ring the 2 bells of awakening. One is high up above in the undead church, which you can't see, and one is far down below in the base of Blight Town, which we also can't see right now. But that is the area that we're going to be going to next. But for now, thank you guys for watching episode 1. I promise that things are going to get way more action-packed and again show off the dickishness of Dark Souls in the next video, where we will be, pardon my French there, we will be exploring the Undead Burg and hopefully fighting at least 1 boss, maybe actually 2. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you're enjoying the Let's Play so far. I'll see you next time.